September 27, 1942. Guadalcanal. Point Cruz. Douglas Munro watches 500 Marines about to be slaughtered on a beach 200 yards away. Japanese machine guns are firing from the jungle. Mortar rounds are dropping into the water. The Marines are screaming for evacuation. They're pinned down, out of ammunition, surrounded. In maybe 10 minutes, they'll all be dead. Munro's commanding officer says the mission is suicide. Nobody's going back to that beach. Too hot, too many guns. Munro looks at the beach, looks at the Marines, looks back at his commander. Says 4 words. I'm going in anyway. He's 22 years old. A signalman in the U.S. Coast Guard. Not infantry. Not special forces. Not even supposed to be in combat. But right now, 500 men are about to die. And Douglas Munro is the only person willing to try saving them. He guns the engine. The Higgins boat lurches forward toward the beach, toward the gunfire, toward certain death. This should be impossible. This should fail. But somehow, against all odds, Douglas Munro is about to pull off one of the most extraordinary rescues in military history. And he's going to die asking one question. 4 words that define what it means to be a hero. Did they get off? October 11th, 1919. Vancouver, British Columbia. Douglas Albert Munro is born into a world that has just finished the Great War. His family moves to Washington State when he's young. They settle in South Cle Elum, a small lumber town where everyone knows everyone. Douglas grows up quiet. Not the kid who stands out. Not the athlete or the popular guy. Just a regular kid who likes fishing, likes being outdoors, likes the water. His father works for the railroad. His mother keeps house. It's a simple life. He graduates high school in 1937 with no real plan. Works odd jobs. Helps his dad. Spends time on the rivers and lakes around Cle Elum. He's good with boats. Comfortable on water. It's the one thing he's naturally drawn to. 1939. War breaks out in Europe. Hitler invades Poland. Britain and France declare war on Germany. America stays neutral, but everyone knows it's temporary. Young men start thinking about military service. Douglas is 19 years old. He decides if he's going to serve, he wants to be on the water. September 18, 1939. Douglas enlists in the United States Coast Guard. Not the Navy, the Coast Guard. The service most people don't think about. The branch that rescues ships, enforces maritime law, guards America's coasts. The service that doesn't usually fight wars. Boot camp at Port Townsend, Washington. Douglas trains as a signalman. His job is communications. Signal flags, Morse code, radio operations. It's technical work. Requires attention to detail, steady hands, clear thinking under pressure. Douglas is good at it. Really good. He's assigned to a patrol boat. Spends 2 years doing routine missions. Search and rescue. Law enforcement. Boring but necessary work. He doesn't complain, just does his job. Officers notice he's reliable, the kind of guy who follows orders without drama, gets things done without fanfare. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. Everything changes. America enters the war. The Coast Guard, traditionally a peacetime service, gets absorbed into wartime operations. Coast Guardsmen are assigned to combat zones. Their mission shifts from rescue to invasion support. Douglas Munro gets orders. Pacific Theater. Solomon Islands. His new job is operating Higgins boats, the flat-bottomed landing craft used to transport troops and supplies. It's dangerous work. The boats have no armor. 1 machine gun for defense. You're completely exposed. But it's not combat infantry. It's transportation. Logistics. You drop troops on beaches, pick them up when they're done, move supplies. You're supposed to avoid firefights, not seek them out. That's the theory anyway. August 7th, 1942. The Marines land on Guadalcanal. It's America's first major offensive in the Pacific. The plan is to take Henderson Field, the Japanese airstrip, and use it to project air power across the Solomon Islands. Intelligence says the island is lightly defended. Maybe 2,000 Japanese troops. Intelligence is wrong. The Japanese have been reinforcing Guadalcanal for months. When the Marines land, they take Henderson Field easily. Too easily, because the Japanese have pulled back into the jungle. They're not defending the beach. They're preparing to attack from the interior. Within days, the Marines are in hell. Japanese bombers attack from the air. Japanese destroyers bombard from the sea. And every night, Japanese infantry attack from the jungle. The fighting is brutal. Close quarters combat in thick vegetation. Malaria spreading through the ranks, supplies running low. Douglas Munro arrives at Guadalcanal in mid-August. His job is running supply missions, transporting ammunition, food, water from transport ships to the beach, evacuating wounded Marines back to hospital ships. It's exhausting, dangerous work. Japanese planes strafe supply boats. Snipers fire from the jungle at boats approaching shore. But it's not direct combat. Munro isn't assaulting enemy positions or clearing bunkers. He's just trying to keep the Marines supplied and get the wounded out. For 6 weeks, that's his life. Wake up, run supplies, evacuate wounded, sleep a few hours, repeat. Then comes September 27th. And everything changes. The 1st Marine Raider Battalion, elite troops, push west along the coast from Henderson Field. Their mission is reconnaissance. Find Japanese positions, assess strength, report back. The battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Merritt Edson, picks his best men, 500 raiders, experienced jungle fighters. They move out before dawn. The plan is simple. Follow the coast to Point Cruz, a peninsula west of Henderson Field. Scout the area. Return by nightfall. In and out. Standard recon patrol. But the Japanese know the Marines are coming. They've been tracking American movements. They know the raiders are going to Point Cruz. And they've prepared a trap. Machine gun positions in the jungle. Mortar teams pre-registered on the beach. Rifle companies hidden in the vegetation. The raiders walk right into it. By the time they reach Point Cruz, they're surrounded on 3 sides. Japanese fire comes from everywhere. Machine guns rip through the lead squads. Mortars start falling. The raiders try to push through, but there are too many Japanese. Too much firepower. The battalion commander makes the call, pull back to the beach. Call for evacuation. It's the only option. Fighting through is suicide. The raiders retreat toward the coast, carrying their wounded, fighting the whole way. By the time they reach the beach, they've taken heavy casualties. And the Japanese are right behind them. The beach at Point Cruz is maybe 100 yards long. Narrow strip of sand between jungle and ocean. No cover, no protection. The raiders dig in, using fallen logs and coral outcroppings for whatever protection they can find. But the Japanese have the high ground. They're firing down from the jungle edge. The raiders need boats, need evacuation. Need it now. The call goes out over the radio. Emergency extraction. Point Cruz. 500 Marines. Heavy enemy fire. Who can respond? Douglas Munro is 3 miles away when he hears the call. He's commanding a group of Higgins boats, 10 total running routine supply missions. His commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Dexter, gets the emergency request. He looks at Munro. What do you think? Munro looks toward Point Cruz. You can hear the gunfire from here. See the smoke. Dexter says what everyone's thinking. It's hot. Real hot. We go in there, we might not come back. Munro doesn't hesitate. Those are Marines. We're going. Dexter nods, rounds up the boat crews. 10 Higgins boats, maybe 40 Coast Guardsmen total. They form up and head toward Point Cruz, toward the sound of gunfire. As they approach the beach, the situation becomes clear. This isn't a pickup under fire. This is an extraction from an active combat zone. Japanese positions are visible in the jungle, muzzle flashes, smoke from mortars. The raiders on the beach are pinned down hard. Munro's boat leads. He positions at the coxswain station, steering, completely exposed. His crew mans the single .30 caliber machine gun. It's not much firepower, but it's something. The Japanese see the boats coming. Machine guns start tracking them. Bullets hit the water, walking toward the lead boat. First boat hits the beach. Ramp drops. Raiders sprint toward it. The Japanese concentrate fire. Bullets tear through the thin hull. The coxswain takes a round in the shoulder. Drops. Another crew member grabs the controls. They load maybe 30 Marines. Reverse off the beach. Get out. Munro's boat is next. He drives it straight to the beach. Ramp drops. He's shouting at the raiders. Move. Get in. Now. Marines are running, some carrying wounded, bullets everywhere. Hitting the water, hitting the boat, punching through metal. Munro stands at the controls. Doesn't flinch. His crew is loading Marines. 1, 5, 10, 20. Keep loading. The boat's designed for 36 troops, but they're packing in more. Wounded stacked on deck. Marines hanging off the sides. Finally, they're overloaded. Can't take more without sinking. Munro reverses, pulls off the beach, heads back to the transport ships 2 miles offshore. Drops the Marines. Doesn't wait for orders, just turns around and goes back. Second trip. The beach is worse now. More Japanese fire. The raiders are running low on ammunition. Some are wounded, some are dead. But there are still maybe 300 Marines waiting for boats. Munro comes in again. Same routine. Load Marines while bullets tear through the boat. His crew is scared. Everyone's scared. But they keep working. They load another 30. Pull off, head back to the transport ships. Drop them. Turn around. Third trip. The pattern repeats. The Japanese are adjusting their fire. They've figured out the Higgins boats are unarmored. They're concentrating on the coxswain position. Killing the boat drivers stops the evacuation. 2 coxswains are already hit. 1 dead, 1 wounded. The crews are getting desperate. This is suicide. But Munro keeps going. Third trip. Load Marines. Take fire. Pull off. Get them to safety. By now, Munro's boat is shot to pieces. Holes everywhere. Water sloshing around the bottom. Engine running rough. The .30 cal is jammed. But there are still Marines on that beach. Maybe 50 left. Wounded. Out of ammunition. The Japanese are preparing a final assault. Munro looks at his crew. One more time. They look at him like he's insane. The boat's barely floating. 3 trips should have killed them. Luck doesn't hold forever. But Munro's not asking. One more time. The remaining boats form up. Maybe 6 still operational. They head back to Point Cruz, but Munro knows they can't just pick up the Marines. The Japanese have clear fields of fire. Any boat that stops at the beach is dead. So Munro comes up with a plan. Insane. Brilliant. Suicidal. He'll position his boat between the beach and the Japanese guns, use his Higgins boat as a moving shield. The other boats can pick up Marines from behind his position while he draws fire. It's suicide. Everyone knows it. His crew knows it. Munro knows it. But it's the only way to get the Marines off. So that's what they're going to do. Munro positions his boat broadside to the beach, 30 yards out. The other boats move in behind him. The Japanese immediately recognize the threat. Machine guns concentrate on Munro's boat. Bullets punch through the hull, shred the ramp, tear through the engine housing. Munro stands at the coxswain position, steering, keeping the boat positioned perfectly. He's completely exposed. No protection. Bullets snapping past his head. His crew is screaming at him to get down. He can't. If he moves, the boat drifts. If the boat drifts, the shield fails. Marines die. So he stands there, absorbing fire. His boat is disintegrating around him, water pouring through a dozen holes. but the other boats are loading Marines. It's working. Then a Japanese gunner adjusts, raises his sights, fires. One bullet. It hits Douglas Munro in the left temple, goes through his skull. He drops instantly, falls across the controls. His crew rushes to him. They're trying to stop the bleeding, but they can see he's dying. Seconds left, and Douglas Munro, bleeding out, vision fading, opens his eyes, looks at his crew, asks one question. Did they get off? His crew tells him yes. All the Marines are off the beach. Everyone's safe. Munro nods, closes his eyes, dies. He's 22 years old, been in combat for maybe 90 minutes. In those 90 minutes, he saved 500 lives. The news reaches the Marines within hours. The story of the Coast Guard boat that became a shield, the coxswain who stood at the controls while bullets tore through his position, who died asking if the Marines made it. The Marines are stunned. This wasn't their guy, wasn't even their service, just a Coast Guardsman who decided their lives were worth more than his. Lieutenant Colonel Edson, the Raider Battalion commander, immediately submits paperwork for the Medal of Honor. The recommendation is endorsed at every level. May 27, 1943. 8 months after Guadalcanal. Douglas Munro's parents, James and Edith, are at the White House. President Franklin Roosevelt presents them with their son's Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "For extraordinary heroism and conspicuous gallantry in action above and beyond the call of duty." Douglas Munro becomes the first and only United States Coast Guardsman to receive the Medal of Honor for combat action. In the entire history of the service, from 1790 to today, one man, one medal, Douglas Munro. But here's what's remarkable: the story almost disappeared. The Coast Guard is small, gets overshadowed by the Navy and Marines. Most Medal of Honor stories get told and retold. Books, movies, documentaries. Munro's story stayed mostly within military circles. The Coast Guard named a ship after him, the UCGC Munro, a Legend-class cutter. It patrols the Pacific. There's a training center at Cape May named in his honor. Every Coast Guard recruit learns about Point Cruz. But outside the service, almost nobody knows who Douglas Munro is, which is insane when you think about what he did. He had every reason to turn back, every excuse. Wasn't his job, wasn't trained for combat extraction. His boat was falling apart, but he went back, again and again, until it killed him. It killed him. And the question he asked, did they get off? Not am I going to make it? Not why me? Not was it worth it? Just did they get off? That's the definition of heroism. Dying worried not about yourself, but about whether the people you tried to save made it. Samuel Roberts, one of the Marines Munro saved, said this years later, "I was on that beach. I watched that boat take fire meant for us. When we heard he died, every Marine there knew we owed our lives to him. I lived 60 more years. Had a family, career, all because he wouldn't leave us." Another Marine, John Sweeney, "We were dead. No question." Then this kid shows up and starts pulling us out while bullets are ripping his boat apart. I don't know what you call that. I call it the bravest thing I ever saw. The Coast Guard holds a ceremony every September 27th. Marines and Coast Guardsmen stand together at Arlington National Cemetery, where Munro is buried. They remember the kid who died asking if they got off. They remember that service means putting others first, that the mission matters more than survival. Douglas Munro was nobody special before Point Cruz. Quiet kid from Washington. Liked fishing, liked boats. Joined the Coast Guard because he wanted to be on the water. Did his job without complaint. Never asked for glory. But when 500 Marines needed someone willing to die for them, Douglas Munro became that someone. Not because he wanted to be a hero, because they needed saving and he could do something about it. He made 4 trips into hell. Each one should have been his last. Each time he had a reason to stop. The boat was destroyed. The mission was suicide. He'd already done more than anyone could ask. But there were still Marines on that beach, still brothers who needed saving. So he went back, positioned his boat as a shield, took the bullets, died asking one question. Did they get off? Yes, Douglas. They did. Every single one. Because you wouldn't leave them. Because you stood at those controls while your boat fell apart around you. Because you decided that being a shield was worth dying for. 500 Marines went home, saw their families, lived full lives. All because a 22-year-old Coast Guardsman decided they were worth saving. That's not just heroism. That's love. The kind that doesn't calculate odds. That just sees people in danger and moves. Douglas Munro didn't conquer islands, didn't win battles, didn't change the war's outcome. He just refused to let people die when he could save them. And he paid for it with his life. But he died knowing they made it. Died hearing yes. They got off. That's all he needed. That's all he wanted. Not survival, not glory, not recognition. Just the knowledge that the Marines he came for made it home. On September 27, 1942, on a beach called Point Cruz, a Coast Guardsman asked one question before he died. Did they get off? And because the answer was yes, because Douglas Munro made 4 trips into hell and gave his life on the last one, 500 families got their sons and brothers and fathers back. That's the measure of a hero. Not how long you lived, how you died. Not what you took, what you gave. Douglas Munro gave everything for people he didn't know. Because that's what heroes do. They see people in danger and they move. They don't think about the cost. They just think about the mission. And the mission was clear. Get the Marines off that beach. He did, at the cost of his own life. But he did it. And that's why we remember. Not because he's famous. Not because there are movies about him. But because what he did defines what it means to put others first. The next time you think about heroes, think about Douglas Munro. The quiet kid who just wanted to be on the water. Who found himself in a war. Who made 4 trips to save people. Who died asking if they got off. They did, Douglas, because of you. And we'll never forget why.